Hello, and welcome to the Complete Lakers podcast. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. So last night, LeBron James made his season debut as he made history by playing officially playing now in his 23rd NBA season. LeBron played 30 minutes. He had 11 points and 12 assists as the Lakers beat the Jazz 140 to 126. Luka Doncic had 37 points, 5 rebounds, and 10 assists. He was 11 of 22 from the field. Austin Reeves had 26 points and 7 of 11 shooting with 5 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton had 20 points and 14 rebounds and 10 of 13 shooting. And then Jake LaRavia
Jake, I need my money.
had 16 points on 6 of 10 shooting off the bench. So I think when you look at this game, uh, as it played out, when I turned on the game, the Lakers were down 25 to 17 in the first quarter. And the first thing that I noticed was that they seem to be tr- uh, trying to take on this like breakneck pace. Whenever Utah would score, they inbound the ball quickly and push it, that type of thing. And I feel like I was to accommodate LeBron in his first game back because that's from what my eyes could see, that's not how they were playing in the 14 games without him. They were, Luka's a more methodical, slow down the pace type of player. It is more how they were playing last year before the trade, which is with the quick, decisive actions and the quick pace. But then when the trade happened, obviously Luka Doncic doesn't. That's not his brand of basketball. He's a half court player. So, I just felt like they were doing a little too much to try to accommodate LeBron. They were down by 9 points at the end of the first quarter, and down by 4 points at the half. And then at the end of the third quarter, they were by 11 points at the end of the third quarter. Luka got hot, and then in the fourth quarter they just pulled away. They just had basically, I mean, the Jazz have Laurie Markin, and then Keontae George is having a good year. He was like 23 points and 7 assists, only shooting 43%. But he was hot last night. But he had a good game. He had a good. They both had good games for the Jazz, but the Lakers just had too many options. As I said, three guys went over 20, and Jake had 16, and so LeBron only had 11. He was the fifth leading scorer, and the Lakers won 140 to 126. Um, LeBron yesterday, I think it was, said that it was a question of we've all been wondering. I've talked about it. How will LeBron fit in when he returned? It would seem that it was going to be an issue, and just because he's played his whole career, dominating the ball, and we saw a little bit last year of him playing with Luca, and this was a bit different because Austin Reeves was taking such a big jump this year, but now Austin is he's established himself really as the second ball handler and scorer and creator after Luca, and I think last year LeBron he was more of the second. He and Austin after the trade kind of shared those duties with LeBron taking precedent as a second ball handler creator. And LeBron played, he showed that he could play some off the ball and just run the court, things like that. So, you know, I but I was curious to see what it would be like this year. Now that Austin, as I said, is taking a jump, and Luka is so comfortable now with this being his, it's basically, he runs the team the same way he did in Dallas, and then Austin is that second guy like a Kyrie, and this goes, okay, well, how does LeBron fit in this position where he's not even a top two option on the team? And he came out and he only shot 7 times. He said yesterday, as I was saying, that he can fit on any team. He's never had a position. There's no club, no team in the world that he can't fit on or play on. And Yeah, I guess the meme that arose after the game or during the game was that people were saying, on social media that in year 23, LeBron has regressed in the prime, in the prime Magic Johnson, because that's pretty much how he was playing. It was just he wasn't even really looking to score that much. He had the 12 assists, and I think it's fascinating. It's interesting. I don't know if it almost kind of reminds me of when Magic, though they said prime Magic, but it more reminds me of Magic when he came back with the Lakers in '96. And we already had Nick there. He was established as a starting point guard. And so here comes Magic back, and he's Magic, but you don't want to take away from what Nick is already set up there. And so Magic goes down there, and he was playing power forward. He was playing in the post, and still doing his thing. Um, Maybe this is what this will end up looking kind of more like. And I was thinking, I remember years ago when I was a rookie, and Bill Simmons he goes, can you imagine what it's going to look like uh, when he gets some good teammates? And he's saying LeBron's going to average 20 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, just casually, you know, because through that first year, um, the numbers wise, it was like 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. But at 20 points, but the next year he was averaging 27. He didn't dip under that for between 25 and 28 points a game, pretty much every year since then until now. And he at that first year, it seemed like because when LeBron was drafted, the comparison was that he'd be like basically a cross between Magic and T Mac, right? And it I feel like we never got to basically that's exactly what he was. He was somebody who has never been. I mean, other than Larry Bird, there's never been a player who ever played this game that I know of at the forward position. Maybe Rick Barry would be somebody who, but you talk about a guy who scores and passes at that level like that. Those are the top three, you know. And um, so he definitely he was exactly that. He was Bird. I'm sorry, he was Magic Johnson and Tracy McGrady combined. And but we never really got to see what it would be like. The closest we got to see to LeBron playing a pure point guard was the year that the Lakers won the title in 2020. When he averaged 26 points and also led the league in assists. That was career high in assists. He averaged 11 assists per game. Um, and I feel like, but see, if he's still averaging 26 points a game, that means your team still needs you to be a bit more of a scorer than Magic ever had to be. Magic's career high was only 23.9. So now we get to see LeBron in a situation where he can, once again, if they really don't even need him to score. Like if you think about it, Luka when he was in Dallas, right? When they made the finals, that team that they had, it was Luka, it was Kyrie, it was Derrick Jones Jr., it was P.J. Washington, and then it was Gafford. I think was Lively a rookie then. I think he was right. Yeah, he was a rookie. So that was their squad, and they made the finals. So basically, Luka only needs one other guy who he can just give the ball to, so that he doesn't have to do everything. And we have that guy in Austin. So and then the PJ Washington role, that's more like what Ruri does, right? And then so where does that leave LeBron? Well, and as I said, you saw at the start, they want to push the pace. So he's somebody who I think JJ said that LeBron is somebody who can help them push the pace when they need to. So basically, you bring he's just somebody who can he can run the floor, and then of course he's like they call these guys him and Luca supercomputers. He's one of the best passers ever to get to play. Basically, he just gets to lean into the passing aspect of his game, um, fully, and hopefully he'll get Luka 6 to 8 easy points a game that he wouldn't normally get, which could make Luka. I mean, if we could see Luka damn near. I mean, Luka can average like a casual 40 points a game. He's already doing it now, man. Basically, I mean, he's averaging like 33 or 34, I think. But if you bring LeBron in there, LeBron now that he's back, if he's just looking at, I mean, who knows? He could get Luka, a few extra buckets a game. And I feel like that's what we're seeing here. I think, and it still doesn't really fit. Like, who would really fit, ironically, is Laurie Marketing. And we'll see once LeBron moves on, what they do. But that's something that stuck out to me because Marketing doesn't really. He's one of those guys who gets his points without really, he does. He's a pure shooter. It's really really like a Dirk Nowitzki, but he doesn't even need the ball that much. He's like the highest caliber of like spot up shooter that you could possibly ever have. He's like a spot up shooter averaging like 25 points a game. So imagine him with somebody like Luka. Um, I mean, that would be an exciting white team for the ages. Luka, Austin, Laurie Markin, and Jake LaRavia. But they're, yeah. In the end, I mean, I think this. The only question is, I mean, LeBron at 40 going on 41 in year 23, is he going to be okay averaging possibly only 15, 16 points a game or something like that? You know? Uh, the thing about it, he's old enough to accept that, but he's really a better player than that. A lot of times when guys get to that point in their career where they're not having the same production they had when they were younger, is because they just physically they just can't do it anymore. But LeBron can still average 25 points a game. But can he? It's kind of like Wilt at the end of his career with the Lakers. Wilt could have still averaged 28, probably 30 points a game, even as Wilt was a freak of nature, just like LeBron is. But he said, okay, I'm playing with West, I'm playing with Baylor, I'm playing with Goodrich. I don't worry about scoring the ball. I'm just going to play defense, block shots, pass the ball out of the post. And it'll just be interesting to see um, how it evolves. And of course, hopefully JJ can figure out, the non-Luca, some ways to stagger them. It's obviously, and LeBron and Austin, um, they they were playing well together last year right before the trade when AD was hurt, and they were playing well off each other. So that's not really the issue. The issue is when all three of them, how does it work? And I think we saw that it can. It was just the Jazz, but then the way they played in the last 15 minutes of the game, I think it just kind of showed what the possibilities are. With LeBron being just like another. I'm trying to think, bro. I don't know if I ever, because it just have, you know, it's like to have essentially two point guards on the same team, like uh, Magic and Norm, they made that work, and then but eventually, Magic, I'm sorry, Jerry West, he made the Norm trade so Magic could fully, spread his wings. But they had 1-2 with Magic and Norm, and if the players are good enough, it almost just doesn't really, it doesn't matter, but it just makes more sense basketball wise when you know you don't need two Magic Johnsons, right? You don't need two Larry Birds. You need one is enough. You need somebody who does something, has a different type of skill set. Uh, But yeah, they got some time off now. Um, they don't play again until Sunday. Again against the Jazz, but this time it'll be in Utah, and we'll have to see how it goes. As I mentioned, the schedule is not that daunting uh, through the end of this year, I should say. Uh, Christmas we get the Christmas we get Houston, and then I know, and then Detroit is one of the last two games to end the year. After that, Detroit is like 13-2. Uh, I want to get to them in a second. I want to talk a little bit about Jalen Durant, but yeah, bro, it's kind of like an embarrassment of riches for the Lakers. But the thing about it is that if you look at the West, man, I mean, Lakers are only the Lakers are only the 4 seed right now, and they're 11-4. So obviously OKC has only lost one game. Denver's only lost 2 games. Houston is 9-3. You know, so I think that obviously OKC has, they're the defending champions and they're the favorites. Uh, I think Denver uh, is interesting because what Denver has done is uh, they're not loaded like an OKC. OKC has more talent than Denver, top to bottom. But Denver has the Joker, right? Aaron Gordon, he's taken a leap. He's averaging 20 points a game this year. Jamal Murray's also having like arguably his best season. He's having 22. And, the Joker's just doing what the Joker does. Cam Johnson, who they got back for Michael Porter Jr. He's struggled. He's only I think he's averaging 7 points a game, shooting like 36% or something like that. Um, so I expect there be some regression to the mean. I expect Aaron Gordon to come back to earth a little bit, and I expect Cam Johnson to start playing better as he gets more comfortable in their offense. Christian Brown is still there, and then obviously they added Bruce Brown, they added Jonas Valanciunas. So instead of them being under, man, they just have a standard, like I said, they're not loaded, but they were shorthanded really the last couple years. But the Joker is so great, he lifts everybody up around him, and their guys are such gamers, Gordon and Murray. Michael Porter Jr. now he's in Brooklyn, averaging like. And I always wondered what it would be like if Michael Porter Jr. got his own team. What he could do. And it's showing. They're terrible. They've only won like 2 games, I think. Brooklyn has. But he's averaging like 25. He's getting. He's got to show his floor game. But the team is terrible though. But it's just going. I'm glad I finally got my answer of how good Michael Porter Jr. actually is. It's more than just a spot up shot. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. was somebody who at one point was slated to be the #1 pick in Missouri, and then he hurt his back and he fell. But yeah, I don't know. I guess they kind of feel like Porter Jr. was like he was. He's kind of like a space cadet. I guess Cam Johnson, like I said, he hasn't played well. They expect him to start playing better. And when he starts playing better, they'll really be clicking on all cylinders there. But yeah, so when you have somebody like the Joker, he's able to get you to the point that you can go 7 games with OKC last year, 7 games with Minnesota the year before that. When really they didn't have the manpower to be doing that. But the Joker is so great, he lifts the whole team. And like I said, Murray and Gordon and those guys, they're a championship team. They've won it and they got a lot of pride. So they're gonna be right there. And then Houston, this giant Houston team that's not, I give them credit because, Reed Shepard's been playing okay. Off the bench. I think he's still coming off the bench. I've been putting money on him on Prize Picks, and he's been hitting. I got money on him today. I know they don't really like trust him like that though. I don't think. I guess the trust will grow. But yeah, it's too bad that Van Fleet got hurt because if he hadn't, I mean, if they're 9-3 without a real, a starting point guard, imagine what they'd be with him. So yeah, I think Udoka continues to do a great job there in Houston, and then Minnesota still Minnesota. You know, they're still good. The Spurs they're going to be without Wemby for like a few weeks due to a calf strain. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, that's the thing, bro. Is that you got these teams that are so I mean, just 2 years ago, this Denver team, Denver won 2 years ago, and they're back to being that well-rounded again. You know, probably even a little more so. I like what Valanciunas can do for them more than what that old DeAndre Jordan they had. Uh, and they have Bruce Brown. They got Bruce Brown back, and then Christian Brown. So they probably got a little bit more depth than they had when they won the title 2 years ago. But that's the thing about the West; it's such an arms race, and everybody's getting better all the time. So you got to worry about Houston. Obviously, OKC now is the team to beat. The Lakers have gotten a lot better. And then Minnesota, who beat Denver in 2024, as I said, it's just like there's some really good teams that are going to go home in the second round of the playoffs in the West. If not the first round. So yeah, bro, it's just when I was coming up, the West was deep. You'd have all 8 teams in the made the playoffs that would win 50 games. But the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe were so dominant, and they really only had to worry about one team every year in the West really having a chance to beat them. So like in 2000 it was Portland. In 2001 nobody could touch them. In 2002 it was Sacramento almost got them out of there. But the Lakers three-peated. The next year defending the three-peat, I was afraid of Sacramento, and instead the Spurs got him out of there. So that was. But I still feel like if Chris Webber hadn't gotten hurt, that might have been the year for Sacramento, but it just wasn't meant to be for them. But you look at it now, you got like I said, bro, that's 5 legitimate teams that feel like if we don't win the championship, our season was a disappointment, was a failure. Which is a lot for one conference. you know. Um, but yeah, LeBron, I feel like he threw them off at first, but by the end of the third quarter, as I said, they had figured it out, and now we just have to see if they can build on that. Um, I mentioned I wanted to say something about the Pistons. They're like 13-2, as I said, and Jalen Duren, man. Obviously, K Cunningham probably. My favorite young guards in the league are, obviously Luca and Shea Gilgeous, but they're like 26, 27. I'm not sure if Halliburton, I'm sorry, 20, I'm not sure, is Halliburton 25 yet? I mean, like, Halliburton, obviously like him, and then I love Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is a stud. But Jalen Duren I didn't know Jalen Duren had this in him. He went from averaging like, 11, 12, 13 points a game. He was averaging like 20 points a game this year. Obviously still rebounding. He was averaging like 20 and 12, And I just didn't know he had this type of game. I thought Jalen Duren is more like a bruising, big man for the modern day, kind of like a rich man's Dell Davis or something like that. I was watching bro Jalen Duren out here like putting it on the floor, making moves to the basket. I was like, I don't know, I can't remember a player. It's kind of like, Like Durant, I always looked at him as more having like a Dwight Howard type of skill set, but obviously not as good as what Dwight Howard was. But now he's putting up Dwight Howard like numbers, like what Dwight would put up in Orlando. He's putting up like 20 points and 12 rebounds, and he has more game than Dwight has. So in Detroit, and Cade missed a few games, and Detroit was still winning. And they have Cade, they have Durant, uh, and it sucks that they don't have Malik Beasley anymore. But they have Duncan Robinson that's coming there, and he's played well for them. Sir Thompson, he missed a few games, and he was back yesterday though. So yeah, you just got to give JB Bickerstaff a whole lot of credit, man. He's doing a great job there in Detroit. Yeah, so it's good. Obviously, Detroit last year they made lost to the Knicks in six in the first round. I know Detroit's feel like they can win at least one playoff series this year, if not more than that. Um, and I want to say something about Tyrese Maxey, who's averaging 32 points and 7 assists for the Sixers, and how good he's become. He's like he's second in the league in scoring, or third, top three. But the thing that really stands out for me about him is, as somebody who bets on him on, on Prize Picks, is his consistency. I don't know if he's failed me this year. I think Tyrese has hit every single time I played him. His line is always like 40 and a half points, rebounds, assists, something like that. And he hits that pretty much every single time. That's the thing you love is just a guy as a better, somebody that you can count on. It's like as a better, you think to yourself, okay, there's always a lot of it's up and down, right? It's like might be up. If a guy goes up if he goes over twice in a row, I'm thinking about the third game. He's probably gonna go under. That's how I think about it. But I feel like the NBA today is such a it's basically like a light scrimmage, and pretty much the only thing that can stop you from getting your line these days is uh, foul trouble or a blowout. It used to be foul trouble or blowout, or maybe guy just has a bad game. But these days, bro, they hardly don't even have any bad games anymore. So, but yeah, man, I gotta give a shout out to Maxie because of his consistency. He just brings it every single night, and that's not. I mean, it's just not easy to do. You know. Um, and then just switching gears to football right quick. I just wanted to say something. The Raiders are 2-8, and I remember when they got blown out by the Colts. I was watching Coach JP and Big Smitty, and Coach JP said something that I was thinking the same thing at the same time. It just seemed that maybe the game has passed Pete by, right? Pete Carroll, and I feel like that could be what's happening here. Same thing seemed to happen to Bill Belichick, who's around the same age as Pete. I think Pete is like 73, 74. I was Nick Saban. He got out of the game. He realized it was time, and I think that maybe what's happening with old Pete. Because for him to be 2-8, I wasn't expecting that. Now, I do think that USC, his first year at USC, like I said, the first year for Pete Carroll is always the reset the culture year, right? But I think the first year at USC they might have started slow, and then they picked it up, and they just rolled ever since then for the rest of his time there. I'm not sure how, because I know the Seahawks went, I think, 7-9 the first 2 years. The first year was the year of the Beastquake year. They won the playoff game against the Saints. But I just, I don't know. It, maybe like if they close strong, okay. But normally, it's like they've been getting blown out too, But it's not like Pete Carroll teams at all that get blown out, even if they're losing. So it just doesn't really feel like the typical Pete Carroll experience for like in the first year. It's like, okay, he's like I said, he's resetting the culture. Just have to get some players in there, but they're competing. Maybe they're losing some close games, and you feel like, okay, once he rights the ship and this flips, they're going to be a good team. So the Raiders haven't really looked like that. They've just been pretty bad. They lost a few close games, but they also, they've been getting their butts kicked sometimes. Like the game, they lost the Cowboys by 17. They got blown out by the Colts. It just has so I was watching the game and that in the fourth quarter they're down 33-16, and after they took that safety, and then he decides to go for the onside kick at that point in the game. I was like, really? I don't know. That didn't really add up to me. So yeah, but Pete's had a hell of a career. I don't know. Like I said, they got to fix the quarterback situation because he's played so poorly. But yeah, we just have to see what happens. It could be a one and done for Pete if it doesn't get much better. And Brady there being in the front office, obviously he respects Pete's coaching acumen for him to for Pete to get that job. But if it doesn't pick up, it could be a one and done for Pete at his age. Um, all right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailback questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out.